So I was also curious about Thomas's afterlife, but in a totally different way. Ross and I decided to donate Thomas's organs to science. While his death was inevitable, we thought maybe it could be productive. We learned that because he would be too small at birth to donate for transplant, he would be a good candidate to donate for research. So we were able to donate 4 things: his liver, his cord blood, his cornea, which is the front of the eye, and his retina, which is the back of the eye. And I was curious as to if these donations really made a difference. So later on, I was on a business trip in Boston, and I remembered that Thomas's corneas went to a division of Harvard Medical School called the Scapin's Eye Research Institute. And I took some advice from Callum, and I looked it up on my phone. And I saw that it was only a few miles from my hotel. And I thought to myself, I would love to visit this lab and learn more about where this donation went. Because I gave them a donation, but it wasn't just signing a check or giving a bag of clothes. You know, I gave them a gift of my child. At the same time, I signed the informed consent forms that state that I know that once I make this donation, I'm not going to get any more information about it. And I signed them anyway. I did that fully informed. So if they did not welcome me, I would understand where they were coming from. But I really thought, I think I have the right to visit this place. Anyway, I thought, you know, if they reject me, am I really emotionally ready for that? And what's that going to do to my grief if they reject me? But I called. And I explained to the receptionist, I said, I donated my son's eyes to your lab a few years ago. I'm in town for a couple of days. Is there any chance I can stop by for a 10-minute tour? And there was a long pause. And lucky for me, the receptionist was very compassionate, and she didn't laugh or say it was weird, which it is a little weird. She said, I've never had this request before. I don't know who to transfer you to, but don't hang up because I'm going to find somebody for you. But don't hang up. So she connected me to someone in donor relations, which it was not organ donor relations. It was financial donor relations. But she knew how to give a tour. So we set up an appointment, and the next day I showed up, and she introduced me to one of the people who requests corneas, Dr. James Ziske. He's a professor of ophthalmology at Harvard Medical School. And I stood in his doorway. She explained who I was, and he was eating a Whole Foods salad at his desk. And he stood up, and he thanked me for the donation, and he shook my hand, and he said, do you have any questions for me? And I was so emotional meeting him. I said, how many corneas do you request in a year? And he said, my lab requests about 10 a year. We would request more, but they're hard to get. And infant eyes are like gold to us. And my heart was just in my throat, and I could barely choke out the words, and I said, could you tell me why? And he said, well, infant eyes, first of all, they're unusual because most of us are older when we die, and that's when you donate your eyes. But also, infant eyes have the potential to regenerate in the lab. And if you don't mind me asking, how long ago did your son die? And I said, about 2 years ago. And he said, we're likely still studying your son's eye cells right now, and they're probably in this lab right now. So after the tour concluded, my tour guide said to me, she said, "I'll never forget you, and please keep in touch with me." And I felt something in me started to change. And I felt that my son had found his place in the world.